What's good, YouTube? You know who it is. It's Jason Blaha, here with Jason Blaha Strength and Fitness, and today it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. I'm going to discuss a much smaller channel this video got linked to me. It's actually a smaller channel that I like, which is one of the only reasons I'm actually going to talk about it, because I wouldn't want to drive traffic to a really bad channel that was smaller. You don't want to do that, ever, for any reason. But it's actually a pretty good channel, even though he doesn't make a lot of content. And it's a guy called The Last Natural, and he made a video more or less discussing about art and form following function, and I thought it was pretty good. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. And The Last Natural, interesting channel. Now, he may not be everyone's style. The guy has kind of a unique artistic style. It's a little bit different, but it's a style that I can appreciate. So again, it's one of those channels to where there is a lot of style there. There's a lot of style, and it's different, and he's got his own approach to everything. But he doesn't put out a lot of videos. But the thing is, the videos the guy puts out are generally pretty good. Now, some of them are entertaining. It's usually a mix. About half of them seem to be just entertainment oriented. The other half seem to be actually discussing things that are useful for you. But he pretty much hits the nail on the head with a lot of stuff. He points out in his own experience, as a guy who actually has a pretty good physique as a natural, things that he's learned over the years, that most of the industry is geared around heavy anabolic abusers giving bad training advice and selling supplements. That's mostly what it's about. And what he's found, from what I can tell, it appears to be a lot of what I tell you guys. That, look, if you're a natural, you can't separate size and strength. Training full body is generally a good idea. He's got good diet information. He explains in pretty good detail how he gets really lean with a six-pack and everything, while keeping the muscle that he has as a natural. And so, I mean, he actually has legitimately good information. Doesn't put a lot of it out, though, unfortunately. And I think it's kind of a shame because, like I said, the guy actually has a pretty good channel. I wish he would put out more information. It would actually be worthwhile. I'd pay attention just in order to kind of bounce some stuff back and forth with it. Because if for no other reason, the guy does actually know what he's talking about. So here's what I'll say about the video he did. He made a video, and this one was, again, not just artistic, but more related to art. He was talking about classic art and how that carries over into the way that we choose to move forward and to be our best. And you want to talk about form following function. Well, that's understood. That was understood in, say, the classic eras of physique stuff. And that's one reason that a lot of guys are like, Jason, you trash so hard on guys who focus on physique, and you trash so hard on bodybuilding. And I do, and the reason for it is pretty simple. Because it promotes poor health. It promotes usually piss poor training ideas, things like you can separate size and strength, and this obsession with aesthetics without performance matching. Me coming from a strength athlete background, I can actually appreciate the fact that a lot of the older school physique guys were legitimately strong and athletic and happen to look good with it. All right, that I'm fine with that. If someone's going to promote that and they're going to promote health and fitness, that's great. I have no problem with that. In fact, if you think that that's going to help you get laid, you need to train. If motivation to get laid is your reason to get in the gym, then by all means, use that as motivation. I would rather you do that than not train. I don't have a problem with that. My problem is them promoting the ultra ripped thing, getting so lean that it hurts your body. It's dangerous. All right, walking around at 7% body fat year round will hurt you. That's no different than telling people to abuse steroids, telling them to smoke cigarettes, telling them to eat McDonald's. It will hurt you. It will kill you young. It'll hurt your quality of life. It'll give you depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts. It will cause your hormone levels to crash. All right, that's terrible. It's horrific, and they shouldn't be promoting that. This is someone who generally agrees with that. He doesn't get ultra ripped. He stays at a nice, healthy body fat, lean enough to have a good six-pack, but he doesn't get ripped. So he promotes that. But the whole point he talked about was form following function. And he talked about really that a lot of the classic art wasn't perfect depictions. When you look at it, the guys who were in those Greek statues didn't necessarily look like that, right? They added extra muscle. You could tell that some of them, they may have added a little extra muscle. They probably weren't quite that big. They were artistic expressions of what the ideal, say, male or female body would look like. So sometimes they'd enhance the hips a little more and stuff in an era when the women probably didn't have access to always the extra food. Trying to make them a little curvier in the right places. Same thing with men. Put a little extra clay on the delts, a little extra clay on the biceps to create the illusion of a better physique. And people would say, well, if that's the ideal, I don't know, maybe they had someone who looked exactly like that. Probably not. And the example the guy used, and I thought was a good example, is you take the the statue of Arnold that someone made. It actually is bigger and more defined than Arnold was. If you actually compare it to what he looked like even as Mr. Olympia, that statue is an artistic representation of Arnold that in that person's mind was the ideal version of Arnold. And so it's fair to say they took the same liberties back then. And on a little side caveat, this is going to make some of you guys feel a lot better. It's going to make you feel better about yourself. A lot of people say, wait a minute, if they always added extra clay, you guys know where I'm going with this, they always put extra clay to make them the ideal male, and maybe they put a little bit on the bicep, a little bit on the delt. Why are they always so small down below? Why don't they have a lot of junk? Well, that's a good question. But you notice that some statues in ancient times did, like animalistic statues like the satyr and everything, they did. And it's because during that era, a small phallus was considered to be a sign of intelligence, and being civilized, and a large phallus was considered to be a sign of low intelligence and being bestial and savage. Right? So that's actually the reason that they did that. If you go back and look at that, because some people, that's a thing that would pop in some people's head, because they always look at those and say, man, I don't know, it's kind of small. But you know, it's aesthetic. They wanted it to be aesthetic and pleasing to the eye, but not stand out in your face. So again, man, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have the biggest one as long as it's aesthetic, right? The joking aside about that, there's actually something to that, because that has to come up when you're going to talk about the ideal male body on these statues when you see that, because they're usually not blessed down there, but they're usually extra. Sometimes looks like a little bit extra put on the shoulders, a little bit extra on the biceps, because that does fall into the ideal male physique. But he pointed out they probably didn't look like that, but then you've seen men in later eras where weight training became really popular, who even before the drug era had that look. I mean, Steve Reeves looked like some of those classic physiques. Right? He looked like that. So people have come forward into the future and emulated and done that. They've done that. And what he alluded to in the video is that if you need to use whatever you need that's a representation of the ideal body for you to do what you need to do, then go ahead and do so. Use whatever motivation that you need to express yourself with your body and to be the best that you can be, to reach your greatest potential. Whatever motivation you need, do it. And remember that form has to follow function. And I can appreciate that fact that he put it like that. I can appreciate that. I thought it was well done. And I do like that he did throw the point in there that we also have grotesque physiques out there. You know, he points that a lot of people, their expression is that of drug abuse, anabolic abuse. And we see physiques like that are hideous. And that is essentially what bodybuilding has become. It is hideous, right? It's hideous in terms of the body fat levels they reach. It's hideous in terms of the proportions that they reach, that these are signs of extreme drug abuse and abuse of your body. And we also see the extreme examples of obesity, of abusing food. Abusing food. It creates some hideous bodies in the modern world as well. And again, he hit both of those points also, because form follows function. Right? If your function is to abuse food and overeat, your form is going to follow, and you're going to be fat. And you're going to be gross. And if your function is to abuse drugs, your form is going to follow. So he said, hey, you should get strong and train, and then your form will follow that function. And I like that he used those examples. And again, he went about it in a more artistic way of doing it. But the message was good. His message in the video was essentially that you need to be strong, that you need to be fit, that you need to use whatever motivations that you need to find your internal motivation to do so. And that form follows function. Get strong, get fit. But don't abuse your body, because if you abuse your body, it will create a body that other people can tell that you've abused it. In other words, if you abuse large amounts of anabolic drugs or synthol or side enhancement, it is eventually going to show. If you abuse large amounts of junk food, it is eventually going to show in your body. So treat your body well, right? Train hard. Give yourself good nutrition, and your form will follow that function. And I just thought he had a good way of getting to that point, and I liked it. So go check the video out for yourself, guys. I'm going to link it down below. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.